In this video, we're going to take a look at the outer glow layer style effect. Now, for this video, I have removed my background layer and replaced it with a color fill layer, which I've currently set to white. Now, I'm going to double click on the color swatch for that color fill layer and set this to black. By the way, if you don't already know, you can create a color fill layer just by going down to your adjustment layer area, clicking on the little black and white button, and choose solid color. So having a black layer as the background will help us see the glow effect a little more clearly. I'm going to select my stick figure layer, just double click on the layer swatch itself, and we'll choose outer glow. Now if you look really closely, there is a tiny little realm of glow which exists on the outer edge of my surface. And if I jump straight down to the size slider, I can kick that up and we can make that glow bigger. But let's start at the top. First off, we have a blend mode. By default, this is going to be set to screen, and that means that we're always going to be brightening based off whatever existing color we have. And by default, this will be a very, very pale shade of yellow, which may look more or less yellow depending on your monitor settings. I don't think I ever really use the default color. I'm generally setting this to something else. So if we switch this over to something like blue, you'll see we have a blue glow. If I switch it over to something like red, we get a nice red glow, which kind of goes pretty well with the red of our little character. But I'll leave this at blue for just a moment. It doesn't really matter which one you use for our purposes. You have an opacity slider, which is kind of like controlling the intensity of the glow. You do have to kind of watch out, though. If you kick this up too high and your size is pretty big, your glow can look pretty phony pretty quickly, so be aware of that. You have a noise slider, which allows you to apply some graininess to the outside of the glow. Once again, as I mentioned in a previous video, this graininess factor, if cranked all the way up, is it's more of a stylistic, artsy sort of thing, but just a little bit of graininess can help the result look more like your background image. So if you're trying to blend in this effect with an already existing image that has a little bit of graininess to it, you may want to apply just a tiny bit of noise to make that a little better. Now down from here we have a couple of color swatches. We have the one we just used a second ago to change the color of our glow, which is just a basic color swatch. You click on it, you use your color picker, and you can make this any color that you like. Now next to this, however, we have the option of, instead of using a solid color, using a gradient to control the color of our glow. Now this is pretty cool. Let me show you how this works. I'm going to kick my size for my glow up really high, like higher than you'd probably ever want it to go, but there it is anyway. We'll switch over to gradient and we'll click on the gradient tab there, and this will open up the gradient editor. Now if I just grab any one of the random gradients inside the presets, take a look at what's going on. The left end of our gradient is mapped to the inside of the glow, while the right end of the gradient is mapped to the outside of the glow. And you can use this to control the glow kind of changing colors as it moves out. So if I grab the rainbow, we get kind of a rainbow glow for a really psychedelic effect. Click OK, and now as I adjust my size, you can see that rainbow expanding and contracting. Now this does give you a great deal of control over your glow itself. So you can start off by saying, I want my glow to be a brilliant blue, but then I wanted to transition over into something kind of orange. And if we take our opacity flag, and I can go ahead and kick that all the way up to full opacity, and I'll select my white flag and click delete. So we're going from blue to orange, and we get this kind of transition that you see here. So it's just a way for you to have more color control over the effect of the glow itself. Now I'm going to leave this just on the standard color for now. As long as you know what that gradient system is going to work like, then you're pretty much good to go. Now down from here we have the elements of our glow. We have a technique drop down here where we can choose between softer and precise. Precise is going to use exactly the pixel data that you have, and it will result in funny little anomalies at the corners. I do want to mention it though, because sometimes it is nicer to use this, depending on the type of glow that you need, the overall look that you're chasing, especially when using things like letters. Sometimes precise will help you out, but most of the time I find myself using softer more often than not. Next we have size and spread. Now size we've been playing with this whole time. It just increases how far out that glow travels. And spread is going to be kind of like the choke of a shadow. It's going to take the inside of the glow, the brightest area, and push it out just a little bit further. And by combining these two, you can make your glow look a lot more intense. You do have to be a little bit careful with it though. I'm going to pull my opacity back a little bit because my glow is just a little too bright. Now, Down from here, we have our quality section, which starts with a contour mapping window. This allows you to map the relationship between full intensity of your glow and no intensity. So if by default we leave this at linear, of course here's what we get. If we make this something that goes kind of up and down, you see that we have full intensity, which kind of starts to fall off, and we get that kind of in-out result. And we've already taken a look at how the contour editor works. So it's a very nice way to be able to control the way in which your glow is going to transition from full bright to full dark. And you have a lot of control just by changing the nature of that curve. You can, of course, anti-alias that contour if you need to. We have a range and a jitter. Now, the range is going to allow you to control how far that transitional band is going to take place. So if you set this all the way down to 0, then you're just using your size in a very straightforward manner. Notice the band of transition is practically non-existent. If we crank it all the way up to 100%, then we get a very, very soft glow. So the result is very much like a softening effect. And then we have a bit of jitter, which is going to apply a subtle fluctuation in that algorithm as it goes. But again, it's an extremely subtle effect. Now, at the very bottom, we have Make Default, which is going to take whatever settings you have created and make those the defaults from now on. Or, of course, we have Reset to Default. That's it. That is all of the controls for the outer glow. That will wrap things up for this video. Thanks a lot for watching.